Ladies and gentlemen, we're reviewing round 5. Yes, it's not over yet, but the majority of the Supercoach scoring is in the books. How did your players go? We'll check it out right after this.
You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Good evening and welcome back to the Insight NFL show. Sorry, I'm your host, The Horse, filling in again for the good lads that are usually running the ship. With me is the man that loves numbers, loves his NFL, and honestly got me as keen as what I've been this year for NFL. It's Secko. How you doing, mate?
Good, mate. Good to hear I got you, the great man, involved. A Supercoach, long-term Supercoach guy, digging into this new format. So we're all learning on the go. So happy to do it as a collective and get everyone on board. But 5 weeks, almost 5 weeks in, pumped to be going through it.
And there's a bit going on, isn't there, when we're talking injuries, potential trade options now, not just within your fantasy leagues, but it's coming close to the trade period ending. So there's teams that obviously need certain positional players that are on the lookout now, in particular for me, probably Cincinnati, and a quarterback, the Ravens and their lack of any decent players at the moment. There's a bit to come, isn't there?
Yeah, there's heaps. It's funny, halftime of that Cincy game, Browning was about to be benched, and then he threw 3 touchdowns, and I don't know how much was garbage time and how much was him pulling his finger out. But there's going to be plenty. I feel like this is going to be a year. There's going to be a lot of moves in the NFL, so something to keep an eye on for Supercoach and real fantasy on who goes where and what it means for everyone. We'll cover you on the Monday through Thursday shows with everything that comes up in that space and how it's going to affect the players.
Yeah, 100%. If you're just new to the Insight NFL show here on X, on Instagram, on YouTube, wherever you may be watching, hit like, subscribe, and put the bell on. That way you know that we're going live. But also, if you listen to us on audio, give us a 5-star review. It helps us get into the ears of those that love a little bit of banter along with their super coach or fantasy knowledge. Now, Secko, we're going to get stuck straight into the injuries that occurred today. Someone that's really relevant when we're talking super coach and running backs, it's a Marion Hampton. So what's he done?
So he left late the third quarter. I know the Chargers were sort of on the line a little bit. They were down a score or a score and a half maybe. And all of a sudden, Kamani Vidal was doing all the goal line work, and everyone was sort of freaking out, going, has he been benched? But they showed Hampton on the sideline. He was sort of doing some walkthroughs, doing some sort of side-to-side running and not looking amazing. So rumor has it that he left the stadium in a walking boot, which Bucky Irving had done that the week before and he missed. So alarm bells, obviously TBD, but we'll keep an eye out. We'll keep an ear out for the next 3 or 4 days and keep you guys up to date. But at the moment, unfortunately, he's made a boatload of cash, but ankle injuries can be bad news. Yeah,
not good, especially for your wide receivers or your running backs, is it? Because these positional players need to be able to turn on a dime. Their agility is what gets them their yards after catch or yards after contact. So that's a big watch there. But at the Giants, another injury to another wide receiver. It's Darius Slayton there. He's done a pig string. For those that don't know what a pig string is, it is a hamstring. Severity, probably multi-week, Secko?
Yeah, with looks like that. It's sort of one of those ones where he couldn't really do a lot. So usually they can pull up and then sort of jog off and look all right and maybe sit out because they're sort of not wanting to risk it further. He looked a little bit worse than that. So, yeah, it's he was the sort of presumptive number one X receiver, with Neighbours now out. If he's out, there's sort of there's no one left. So I feel bad for Jackson Dart, and we'll talk about him in coming up later this week as he goes on the bubble for Supercoach, and he's a good option in. But if he hasn't got much to throw to, it sort of limits what he can do there a little bit. But anyway, Slayton's definitely going to miss a week, you reckon, with what he's got, but it might be a few.
Xavier Worthy, mate. So Kansas City play tomorrow, but he's been a late addition to the injury report. If anyone at home does have him, you'll need to watch early or before tomorrow's game, because is it the shoulder that's still giving him grief?
Yeah, I think actually, it might have been a knee. It might have been something unrelated. He was practice all week, and then he popped up. So it might be nothing. It might be precautionary. It might be gamesmanship. Who knows? We'll know games at 11:30 tomorrow, 11:20 tomorrow. we'll know a lot more then. But just something to keep an eye out and ear out, and maybe have a backup option. More so in your traditional fantasy formats. If you're going with Worthy, maybe look to pick up someone with Juju, Tyquan Thornton.
100%.
Brown types.
Just a bit of for a bit of insurance for tomorrow. Antonio Gibson, unfortunately, it's looking like an ACL. We saw the pain in his face after he did go down. So prayers up for Antonio Gibson. That's not looking good. But someone that did miss but didn't play, and that's Brock Bowers. That knee might be giving him a little bit more grief than what they're leading on there in Oakland or Las Vegas, sorry.
Yeah, it's still Oakland at heart. Look at always be Oakland. It's like the OKC Thunder will always be Seattle Supersonics to me.
That's right.
For a bit of cross
stuck in
field there.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, it's one of those things where he popped up as it's one thing to look for if you're looking for sort of, whether guys are likely to play or not is the midweek change of designation. So if they practice on, say, Wednesday and they're not practicing Thursday and Friday, usually means they've aggravated something or they've done something. So if they were practicing and then all of a sudden not, it's generally a sign they're likely to miss. So Bowers, and we sort of said that in the WhatsApp, and we'd said that on socials to keep an eye and have backup plans. And lo and behold, late yesterday, I think he was ruled out. So he's been a frustrating watch. He's got all the talent in the world. Gino's not quite on song yet with him, and he's been battling through an injury since week one. So he's been a tough own for owners in all formats. Yeah,
definitely, mate. And with that'll do us for the injury report for tonight. What we're going to do now is we're going to get into the review that is round 5, or what's happened of round 5 or week 5 so far in the NFL.
Let's preview the games for the week ahead. It's time for Game Talk.
So let's talk San Francisco and the Rams. So CMC leading the way for all owners with a 47. Of course, we are talking Supercoach scoring here. Kendrick Bourne with a 39 at 0.4% owned, Secko. That was probably the big story out of this one.
Yeah, it's obviously San Fran's still, Ricky Pearsall was ruled out. John Jennings is out. Brandon Ayuk's out. George Kittle's out. So someone had to stand up, and it could have been sort of 3 or 4 guys sharing the load, but Bourne was everywhere watching that game. I think he had 10 or 11 catches and 140 yards or something. So, I mean, I don't know the relevance for Supercoach, but he's only $6.5 million. So if Pearsall and Jennings and Kittle are still out, he might be an option just to free up some cash and then make some cash, because he's going to sort of have a pretty decent break even as well.
Yeah, for sure, mate. Who else did we say in that little bit there? Kyron Williams, he scored a 54 at 3% owned. Really nice for the people that went pottish with Kyron. Stafford scored a little bit too, 52 there, 1% owned. And Puka. So with CMC and Puka, a lot of people slapped the VC on those guys. I would have been happy to take that loop score.
Yeah, look, they should have been happy. A bit of discourse around the traps with, is a 47 decent, and to a greater extent is the 39 worth taking. And it's one of those things that, and some people have said it well, and I sort of, echo what they say is, that score's in your bank. And if say you do Josh Allen and he has 55, you've scored 8 more points. Yeah, it's great. 8 points is fantastic, but it's not really going to, move the needle in the week. Whereas if something happened and he got concussed on the first drive and with 1 point, that's going to cost you a heap of points. So I think we said at the start of the year, 40 plus is probably your indicative take score, depending on sort of what you want to do there. But 39 for Puka, plenty took it. I'm just trying to get up. I think Josh Allen ended up with exactly the same score. So a lot of people's options were, do I take Puka's 39 or risk it with Josh Allen? He had 40. So, at the end of the day, it didn't matter what you did there. So reality is sometimes they go big. I reckon if it's 45 plus, you take it every day of the week. CMC did that. A lot of people took it, and they've had most of their good weeks.
Yeah, for sure, mate. Let's move on to Minnesota versus Cleveland. I was actually up watching this in London. Jefferson, 31. He's been solid without being spectacular with his scoring, 40% owned. Hawkinson's been very, very disappointing, 13. Dylan Gabriel, I want to ask you about him. So I'm quite intrigued at the very young core that Cleveland have with Dylan Gabriel, Quinshon Judkins, Harold Fannin, even Isaiah Bond wasn't great in this game, but they've got a really good young nucleus there in Cleveland. And then the old head in David Njoku, who did his own Saquon Barkley impersonation and leaped over someone gaining some yards. I think it was in that third quarter there. They're going to be exciting. Give them time, but they're going to be exciting.
Yeah, you got to remember about Cleveland. They were ripped apart by the Deshaun Watson horrible trade they did, and they were put back years and years. So they had to sort of build on the run, and they've sort of done that. To your point, you've nailed it there. Judkins was the right pickup. They got him at a discount because he was off the field issues.
That's right.
Even before he was done for any sort of arrest or court case sort of thing. It was always sort of that was the talk. Isaiah Bond was exactly the same thing. He fell massively in the draft. All the talent in the world. He went to school with same school as Matthew Golden. He was a better receiver in college than Matthew Golden, who was a first-round draft pick. And this guy went, I think, the fourth round because, again, there was uncertainty whether he was going to play due to legal issues.
Yep.
So, yeah, they're putting that together. Harold Fannin was a great pick. He's going to be a jack of all trades type guy as well. And so they are set up if they want to keep those guys together and sort of build something. And they've got the greatest defense to support that. So,
got a really good defense.
Back to Gabriel. Yeah, bubble this week or next week. So he's got, you have to pick him up because he'll go up after next week. He beat his break even by 28 this week. He'll have a minus break even for sure.
He will have a minus. Yeah.
Yeah. He's only 3.7 million. So if you're looking to, it's probably going to be a toss up. And we'll talk this more on Wednesday in the trade show. So make sure you listen 7:30 on Wednesday. It's probably between him and Dart on who you want to swap out. If you swap out McCarthy or Ward or whoever's in your QB2 spot. There's a couple of bubble guys, which is always nice in Supercoach. We go through it in other sports. When guys are on the bubble with a negative break even, it's sort of time to jump on. But yeah, Judkins, Fannin, serviceable again. And to the very start, Jefferson's been far from electric, but he's been pretty consistent. He's had back-to-back 30s. He sort of hasn't ever really bottomed out. If you've got him, I think you just hold and hope he continues to trend up in the last 2 weeks.
For sure. We move into the next game, Houston versus Baltimore. And haven't Baltimore fallen off a cliff? And it's through no fault of their own. It's just injuries have just decimated the way that they're going about it. And Houston looked like a top side today, and they're not a top side. Stroud with a 57, Nico Collins with a 27, Woody Marks only 4, Flowers 19, Henry 18. Disappointing from the Baltimore end. But I want to ask you this, Secko. Is this a bit of fool's gold for Houston? Or do you think that Stroud can continue to pump out 40s and what have you?
Look, season form up to this day would probably suggest fool's gold a little bit. As you said, the Baltimore defense has been decimated all year. So, but they just looked flat. Like it's actually strange to watch a team at home just sort of lay down as easily as they did. So, look, it's good to see CJ Stroud. He was great in his rookie year, and sort of hasn't been as great since then. And Nico, I think Nico's 15% owned still. So a lot of his owners need Stroud to sort of be that competent guy. Look, 2 touchdowns went to Xavier Hutchinson today. That's not going to happen every week. So,
no.
But it's good to see Stroud playing. They were throwing the ball, even though they were winning. They were sort of wanting to get him some form, get him some layups, if you will. So that's good for his confidence, and fingers crossed that can sort of carry through. But yeah, Marks was the massive disappointment
definitely. It's the running back by committee approach that I don't like about that, because 1 week it might be Woody Marks, the next week it's going to be Nick Chubb. Like we don't know.
Yeah.
Do we?
Even Damian Pierce got involved, which he hadn't been, and we thought Marks had gone right past him, and it was the same old situation. I'm just trying to get the stats up here, but I can't find the game. But I know just watching it, Damian Pierce had a fair bit of work. He had seven carries. He had 7 carries, Marks had 7 carries, and Chubb had 11. Like, that's disgusting. That's not going to work. It's not going to work for any fantasy format. It's not going to work for Supercoach, because you need some volume as a running back to carry you through and make you that big cash like we've seen with Hampton and Genty predominantly.
For sure. Let's move into the next game, because in the first quarter and a half, Miami looked on song, and it looked like they were going to blow out the Carolina Panthers. Up 17-zip, scoring on their first 3 drives, and then they just did really nothing after that. Waddle scored a 43% own. Waller, the old boy, we'll talk about him in depth once we go through the rest of these names. A-Chain was pretty good too with a 27. But Rico Dowdle, he was probably the player of the day alongside JT, and we'll talk about him in the next game. 61 Supercoach points, and he looked like prime Derrick Henry today.
Yeah, it's crazy how these guys who, and if, for those who don't know the Carolina situation, Chuba Hubbard had a great year last year, and so the team paid him like he deserved to be. He got $30-odd million for 4 years, a massive deal. And in NFL, if you get that money, you pretty much you get the opportunity to start and be the main guy, which is fair. But Dowdle was brought over in free agency from Dallas, and he's been very productive. He was productive last year, the back 6 games, and he just shows once he gets clear air. He had 200+ yards on the ground today. It's phenomenal. Yeah. Miami is, take Miami with what you will. They're susceptible, put it that way, especially on the ground. But you can't deny his output, as you said. Prime Derrick Henry, and that's what he looked like. He was barging through people. He was finding holes, and he's a bit expensive because he had that good run last year. His starting price wasn't as basement as it probably should have been. So he's probably priced out of it, but definitely one to note as the highest scorer on the week. I believe still to now. Yeah. So great.
Let's talk about, McMillan scored 20. That's all well and good for those that had or started with Torra McMillan there, the wide receiver, the rookie at Carolina. But Darren Waller, 32 again today. Is this your prime? If you've got Brock Bowers, you can go Brock Bowers into Waller, save yourself $10 million to be able to upgrade elsewhere.
Yeah, I can't see a world. And I'm probably the biggest skeptic of Darren Waller. You'll see in the entire NFL fantasy landscape. But even I can't deny for this. I mean, in normal fantasy, well, this format, you can't go past it. He is going to have a minus mid-30s break even. It's Waddle and him. The entire offense is just run through 2 guys and A-Chan in the backfield, but there's no one else catching passes for them. I think just do whatever you can. If you've got McBride, he can go. Which sounds harsh. He had another bad game. Bowers can definitely go. Kelsey can go. Hockenson can go. Pretty much anyone not called Warren or Ferguson at the moment. And maybe Kincaid because he's really come on. But any of these guys you started with who you paid up a little bit for, they can all go because you can get them back. They're all losing money. Right. So remember, everyone's got a buy to come. Every one of the tight ends has a buy except for Tucker Kraft, who take that what you will. You can get him or you can leave him.
Yep.
Everyone else has a buy to come. So you may as well get rid of Bowers, buy in week 8, McBride, buy in week 8, Hockenson buy next week, Kelsey buy week 9. You can get rid of these guys, get Waller in. He's going to score as good or better, make a heap of cash. He's on the bubble. Darren Waller's the one. Just find a way. Just get him in. We don't like trading tight ends until this happens. Get him in.
100%. We'll move on to Las Vegas versus the Colts, and this was as one-sided as it gets. The Las Vegas Raiders, they just had nothing on the offensive end, and on the defensive end, Danny Dimes and JT with 3 rushing touchdowns. They just run the show. Genty with 26, Trey Tucker with 17, then JT with 60 himself. Unfortunately, I took the VC off him about half an hour before the game, and I'm devastated by that. Danny Dimes with 32 and Tyler Warren with a 24 coming up trumps for those that saw that Brock Bowers is going to miss and able to play him as an AE or as an emergency. So is this a sign of things to come for the Las Vegas Raiders with how poor they were today, or is this just a Brock Bowers out, they were rattled, they had nowhere to go, let's just forget about this and move on?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Probably more the latter. The Colts are a good team. Surprisingly, we all sort of, I think everyone sort of poo-pooed them at the start of the year a little bit. They've been a very, very good team on both sides of the ball. So let's not take anything away from them shutting down, but they were able to just absolutely blanket Jacoby Myers. Tucker had a little bit. Genty had a few catches, but there was no explosiveness because you look through their team. They've got Jack Besh, and I don't even think Thornton played today. He went catchless. So
Yeah.
they've got no firepower. Gino's prone to make bad decisions. So Genty's going to get through. He's owned by 2/3 of the people in Supercoach. He's making money. Even on a bad game, he had 26 today. Just keep him until he's topped out. That's great. Otherwise, you can pretty much just leave the rest of them and Bowers included until he's fully fit and you've seen him, because he's lost already $4 million, I think. So
Yeah.
He'll lose more money when he comes back as well. So you can just get him, round 10 if he's playing good again.
For sure. Dallas versus New York Jets this time, not the Giants, but the Jets. And this one was a relatively high-scoring game if you owned any of these players. Dak with a 55, really nice. 3% owned. Javonte Williams with a 52. He's 25% owned, so a quarter of the community owned Javonte. Ferguson with a 40. You shared him out before as one of the tight ends that are or is actually playing well so far this year. Pickens with a 25, but for me, I'd be wary because CD Lamb's only a couple of weeks away. And then on the Jet side of the ball, Justin Fields with a 51, Wilson with a 32, and Mason Taylor with a 26. Let's talk about Mason Taylor to start with, because people are going to be looking to make moves at tight end, whether they need to or not, or whether they want to make money. Is Mason Taylor another rookie type player that we should be targeting? 5.5 mil he was, 0.8% owned. He's been putting up some nice scores of late.
Yeah, absolutely. He is, because he got those 26 without a touchdown. So usually when these tight ends have these kind of scores, there's almost always a touchdown involved. And that's obviously, as we know, 12 points. So essentially that can be 4 catches, 35 yards and a touchdown. This guy had 9 catches for 67 and no touchdown. So yeah, look, Mace, he's only $4 million now. He's going to be 5.5 roughly around next week. So he's another option if you want to jump off. If you've already got Waller, so if you went early on Waller, for example, you can get another cash, another moneymaker like Mason Taylor, because again, similar to the previous, there's no one to throw to. Like these guys have Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, and then it's Josh Reynolds and A. Beck. I don't even know the guy's name. Like they've got nothing. So nothing. And Fields has shown that he's more. Yeah, and Fields is more than competent passing the ball. So Mason Taylor shapes to be that sort of that third option if you include the running back, which is a good prominent role
for sure. Dallas looking pretty good too, aren't they?
Yeah, they've wait till CD comes back in as well. They're missing, potentially the best wide receiver in the game. Dak's just been on fire all year with or without him. Javonte Williams has probably been the fantasy MVP of the entire year, and he was only priced about $8 million at the start of the year. So those who got on, and there's 20, I think, would you say 20% of them, 25% of the population still have him. He's just, he's scoring amazingly and he's making money. So he's been an absolute find. Ferguson as well. I know I've sort of told a few people around the traps, if they're the Bowers trade out, for example, Ferguson's an option because he gets catches. He's the possession tight end. He got 7. He got 7 catches again, but he had 2 touchdowns. That's why he scored the 40. And Pickens, I'm a bit surprised he's 20% owned. He isn't going to last that much longer. He's probably 2 weeks away, but he was very disappointing today, given that Ryan Flournoy outscored him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Who's that?
Yeah. Yes, exactly right.
A game that probably wasn't as exciting. That's the New York Giants versus the New Orleans Saints. Theo Johnson with a 36. A couple of touchdowns for him. Dart, 35. Scatterbo, 22. But realistically, unless you're looking at Dart this week as a bubble boy, you're not really looking at anyone from either team, are you?
No, it's we're doing a thing without even meaning to do it every week on this Monday show. I'm pretty much just skipping past New Orleans because they never have any relevant players. They're super low. They're super low owned for a good reason, and yeah, they're just like it's a different guy every week. Like Olave had 18, Kamara had 14, Juwan Johnson, who was probably the most owned, he only had 5. So, but Shaheed had a 70-yard touchdown, so he got 38. Like they're very much just an absolute scrap every week. The only one is Theo Johnson. If we're talking about Waller, Mason, and Theo Johnson, and we'll get into this on Wednesday a bit more, but very similar. He's going to be a lower break even lower negative break even than even Mason Taylor. Possibly not Darren Waller, but he's $7 million. So again, he's probably behind the other two, but he'd be the only one outside of Dart, and obviously Scatterbo's owned by 12%, and he's sort of still making money. So they're the only three at the moment, especially with Slayton out. There's no one else even in that team that's factoring into calculations. So
No.
It's been unfortunate, but they're pretty much two dead teams, the Giants and the Saints.
For sure. Going from that game to probably a playoff caliber game when we're talking Denver and Philadelphia. So Mr. Knicks, pardon me, 1% owned, 35. Someone that I bought in this week, Cortland Sutton, 27, 2% owned. Steady without being too great. Harvey disappointing the rookie with an 8. Jalen Hurts with a 38. Saquon with that 50-yard touchdown got himself to 32. He's 38% owned. Supercoach points scoring aside, is there trouble brewing in Philly with, is it AJ Brown back in the media again, having a bit to say about his quarterback?
Yeah, there is. This is a game. So Devontae Smith got 8 catches for 114. So at least one of the wide receivers got some. And it looked like watching this game quite closely because it was in the later slate. So it was less competition against, or it was the end of it went longer than the earlier games, maybe. I watched a fair bit of it, and they looked to be wanting to throw the ball more than they have been, which is great. And that's what you want. They haven't been doing that much, but alas, it's still AJ Brown still wasn't a factor. Got more than him, and I think he's a prime trade candidate, which is weird because they're a 4-1 team and they're definitely playoff bound. But I feel like he's just gonna throw the toys out of the cot and demand one. So watch this space for that team. But it's a hard watch, and they probably deserved a loss. They've been winning games ugly, and teams that do that don't really deserve to keep winning games. So finally, it took a decent team coming into town to roll them. And look, Sutton pickup was a great one by you, mate. He got a lot of his production later in the game, but he's the kind of guy who can just have those blow ups. He's good. He's a good sort of good boom guy to have, given he's the only real target. If you want to count Franklin or Engler or Mims, but they're all tertiary parts. This guy's the main deal.
He's the main man, yeah. Let's move on to the Titans versus Arizona, and this is probably, for me, the upset of the season so far. Given that Arizona were up, 21-7, or was it 3 even? And
21-6 in the third, late in the third quarter, and they ran in a touchdown to go 28-6 up.
Yeah, he dropped it before he went in the end zone. And then they don't go up. It's a touchback. And then Tennessee going to run and win this game. Ridley with a 31. You're my guy from the preseason. He's 3% owned. Ward with an 18. On the other side of the ball, Harrison with a 23. McBride with a 13. Is there anything really to see here?
No, it was pretty gross game. Arizona put the cue in the rack way too early, and then they had that breakaway touchdown, which should have been the game ice, and it didn't happen, and then they sort of panicked a lot. So they're a hard one. Get rid of all your players. Harrison is back to being relevant, but he's a hard own. Michael Carter's a fill-in. He'll be there for a couple of weeks. McBride is just trade him. Like if you have McBride and Bowers and Kittle, trade all three. Like honestly, it's an option to get Waller, Mason Taylor, and Theo Johnson because they're scoring as well, and they're going to make money. But definitely get rid of McBride. I think we've seen enough of him and Bowers to know that the scoring from others is going to be just as good on a consistent basis, and you're making money off them. So
for sure.
Yeah. Other than that, Tennessee's a gross watch. Arizona's a gross watch. I'm glad they played each other.
I'll tell you who's not a gross watch, and that's Emeka Egbuka from the Tampa Bay side. Jeez, he looks good against Seattle. That was a bit of a shootout with Egbuka 55. Baker Mayfield with a 53. JSN, pretty sure he was the other of my guys in the preseason with a 46, and Horton with a 22, the rookie. This was a really fun game to watch in comparison to the last couple that we've spoken about.
Yeah, it was literally ping pong back and forth the whole game. It was one of those games where you thought, oh, the next possession is going to be a score, and then they're going to have to score again. So it's great for fantasy because all it means is the good players just get bought up. So, AJ Barner scores twice, which takes some points off some of the other guys. But Torrey Horton got in, and a few people own him. He's going to be $6 million. He scored 22. Buka is just an absolute super coach freak. Every sport, every season has these guys who just stay in your team. They're rookies and they're there to make money, but they stay in your team for way, 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 way too long. This guy is going to be another $3.5 million made. It's going to be about 12.5 mil after today, or 12 mil.
That's unreal.
Minus 20 something BE again. This is 5 weeks in for a guy priced at $4 million, and he's going to be probably $16 million in a couple of weeks. He's scoring like a primo.
Does this change when Mike Evans is fit, when Godwin's up and about, or are we just holding for as long as we can here? Because you look at the stats on Egbuka, he's running a 3-week average before today, mind you, of 26. So that's up into the 30s. Sorry, I've got the stutters on. Currently ranked as the number 7 wide receiver in all of Supercoach.
Yeah, that would be before today, I would think. So you'll go up again.
Before today.
Look, I'm very steadfast on the belief that it will change when Evans and Godwin are both 100% fit. There's no way this guy can do this. He can do some percentage towards this. He can't do what he's doing here. Because at the moment, he's getting all the targets. Like Godwin had 4 targets today for 26 yards. Egbuka is very efficient. He still only had 7 targets and for 163. So he'd be leading yards per target. He'd be leading touchdowns per target. Like he's just on fire, right? So,
unreal.
But yeah, ride it because he's going to be another 2 more weeks. He can have a bad score next week. He's still going to be a very low break even. So you've got 2 more weeks. Evans will be back around then. You can assess, see what his break even is. He will have made you $12 million by then. So you can probably just be happy and cash him if things turn. So,
well, they've got San Francisco next week, and then they've got Detroit, and then they've got New Orleans before their bye. So that still sounds pretty juicy, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I would say perfect time to trade him as his buy. That's going to line up with break even coming up to the sort of 20, 30 mark, if I had to guess. Get what he's going to score. As I said, he'll have made another 3 or 4 mil. He'll be 15.5 to 16 mil. You can trade him straight then to someone off the week 8 buy, who is I can't think of the teams on there. There's heaps of teams. Could be
like CD Lamb or someone like that.
But CD back from his injury, right? Exactly right. So you can almost straight swap Egbuka to a guy that's going to be a keeper for your last 12 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever it is. 100%. This is shaping up to be a guy who gets you right up to his buy and happily trade him and say, thanks for your service, mate. You've been an absolute legend.
For sure. Or as you will find in the next game, Detroit versus Cincinnati, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he could be another option. Jahmyr Gibbs with a 30, Laporta with a 35. He's probably one of his better games of the year. But the week I trade out Jamar Chase is the week that he scores well. 52 from Jamar, mind you, that or most of that happened in the last quarter. Chase Brown with a 16 has been disappointing. Before we talk about the potency that is Detroit's offense, are Cincinnati that far gone? Was today just garbage time when they started to run it up, or is there genuine belief that Browning was starting to get it back together again?
Yeah, look, I've been one of the biggest Browning apologists out there. No one sort of agreed with me that he's not as bad as he's appeared, and he can be serviceable. He's facing an absolute gauntlet of defenses. So again, I'm not trying to defend him too much to the hills. He's looked really bad, but he's had Minnesota and Denver and Detroit 3 weeks in a row. That's probably three of the top 5 toughest, right? So. And then it doesn't get any easier because I think Green Bay's next. So we're not going to know for a while. Green Bay, and then Pittsburgh is actually the easiest they've had for their entire year. And then it does ease up after that. With a few, but we're not going to really know. But you weren't wrong to trade Chase out. It sounds dumb saying that. He scored 52. He's still losing cash. his break even will level out again. But if he has another stinker like he had the week before, his break even will be back up to 80 again. You can't predict him to have 50. He had two. We had one massive junk time, broken touchdown, broken coverage touchdown, which was a third of his points was in one play.
Mm-hmm.
Another one was a throw that no back in their right mind should get the green light to throw. He had 4 defenders on him, and Chase is good enough that he was able just to sort of get his feet in and drag his
That's
feet.
unreal, isn't it? Yeah.
He was almost in the bloody in the bleachers. He's a freak, right? And that's why you always beware getting rid of him. But he had 9 last week, and he had, I think, 14 the week before or 12 the week before. He's had a 7, a 12, and a 9 and 250 something. So trading him out, the process was right. There's going to be spike games for everyone. Yeah, I think who'd you get in for? And that's the question I want to ask you for your personal team.
I bought in Sutton.
Yeah, okay. So, look, Sutton is going to be a guy who I think will score as many points as Chase will for the rest of the season, or if not more. This Chase thing was going one direction, really bad. So, again, good on you if you were forced to keep or you kept and got the 52. That's great. I don't think it's going to last forever. It's funny you mentioned the Amon St. Brent is on by week 8. He didn't get his break even. He's probably going to lose over the next 2 weeks up to his bye. His break even will balloon a bit after he's 22. He's the kind of guy might be about 18 mil, and that's Egbuka to him in $1.5 million. Is an absolute steal. So circle that one. Hold off on your trades to try and keep it on your back pocket. Don't go too early on Egbuka because you can get a steal in week 9.
100%. Let's move on to Washington and the Chargers. And I didn't realize how decimated that Chargers O-line was until watching today, and Washington just running all over them. Bill Krosky-Merritt with 51. The rookie looks really good. Debo, 39. Jaden Daniels, 33, back from that knee injury. Justin Herbert, 33, but really lacked any relevant help. Lad McConkey with a 24 and a touchdown. Hampton with 19, but didn't play out the whole game. And Quentin Johnson, today was probably his first game where he looked subpar.
Yeah, it is. He had 4 for 40, but he lost a fumble, so he loses some points for that. But yeah, Lad McConkey got his first touchdown. He's been very disappointing. Them as an entire offense were disappointing. If we're being honest, they just couldn't get anything sort of going the entire game. Herbert looked a bit off. It was his first real game, looking pretty bad. But yeah, it sort of. It's hard. I don't want to sort of say, you could have seen it coming because you really couldn't. Quentin Johnson had been lights out for 4 weeks in a row, but he hadn't scored under 70 yards. But his previous 2 years in the NFL sort of showed me that this was always around the corner. Like it's just any player can do it, right? Any player can have a bad game and score sort of that low number. But as we'll see in the next game, but yeah, like. If you got him in and he's 12% owned, you've got to ride with him now. His price is high. His break even won't go too big. He's had a lot of big scores. So just got to stick with him. If you want to trade, obviously trade. His price is actually pretty good. You can go to someone. But if you're going to trade him, I think it's trade someone off the buy already. Because we're at that stage now where we want to start getting through the guys on the buys. If we can get a guy who's already had theirs, it's sort of gold in terms of trades. So
you're talking like maybe a Quentin Johnson to Roma Dunze. That might be a nice move for people at home.
It's a fantastic move. It's the perfect move. If I had to draw one up, that's exactly what I would do because the pricing would be pretty close, mate. But you hit the nail on the head on that one. That's what you want to do because it sounds like we've got a lot of trades. People got anywhere between 18 and 21 or 2. It sounds like there's heaps, but when buys come, we've seen injuries happen every week. Some people were complaining because they couldn't get rid of the 4th person this week they wanted to. They had Lamar and Bucky and Neighbors and Chase and Bowers, and they're like, well, what do I do? I haven't got 5 trades. So you're going to want to use them. You're going to have to use them as well. But so you want to sort of keep them back. Don't get guys in now. They're going to have to buy in 2 weeks. You're going to have to hold over, and you might be one short on the bench because someone got injured. Or if you can avoid that, it's sort of team management time. That's what you want to start doing. Look ahead. when you might be able to go Booker to a Monra, where you might be able to trade off Hampton to get, JT or James Cook or Josh Jacobs is coming back from his bye this week.
That's it.
If you think he's going to be a top 6 running back, you're better off getting him securing an extra game than going to a Jonathan Taylor, dare I say it, or a James Cook. It might be a better option because you're getting one more game out of him and using one or two less trades. So we'll talk more of that on the Trade In, Trade Out Wednesday show, a bit more game theory around sort of what the needs are now, but it's important to look ahead and also not trade into multiple guys in the same week, by week. But we'll get to that. Long way to say Quentin Johnson to someone like Roma Dunze, if you haven't got him, is a perfect trade.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know more about your trade weeks, who you've got, who you should be targeting, the lads are within our Patreon. So that's a third of a cup of coffee per week. And you've got these guys on tap 24/7 within chat groups, within the Patreon, helping you at home win your leagues. Link is in the description below. The game today, or the late game, New England versus Buffalo, I actually quite enjoyed this. It was a really slow start. What was it? 6-3 at halftime, but really got exciting towards the back end. And Drake May, he's going to be some player. He scored only 23 in this one, but Stephon Diggs, 39, Henry with 11, Kincaid, 27, James Cook only with a 9, Josh Allen with a 39. A lot of people had the captaincy armband on him, but this was just a cracking game, wasn't it?
Yeah, as you said, mate, it started off really slow. But that I see them as good games too. Like it's not always, they're not always bad. It was a bit scratchy. It was fumbles, but fumbles were, are often forced. So it wasn't high scoring, but it was still a very watchable game because things were happening. But then the second half happened, and Drake May really got on his bike. Unfortunately for him, it was 2 rushing touchdowns that got them the lead. If he throws one of those, he scores instantly better. He's in the mid-30s, pushing the same score as Josh Allen. And then Josh Allen on the other side, who is highly owned, highly captained every week, he had to play catch-up, which doesn't normally have to do. So normally he puts the score up early. So he was battling early, and he actually had to throw and run to get some score up. So it was actually a bit of a fairy tale for Josh Allen owners for him to actually claw a score. But it really hurt James Cook. And he's another one where a lot of people have bought him in over the journey. He's 12% now. He's arguably a candidate for Supercoach MVP over the first 4 weeks. And he's just had one of those games where they didn't use him as much as they usually would. They didn't really go the game plan, and he didn't get any passing work out of the backfield. So, again, these things happen. Happened to Quentin Johnson. James Cook's a more solid gold fantasy player.
Yeah.
And it happened to him. So ride the punches there. But
especially come winter in America, and we know it snows in Buffalo, and when it snows, teams run the ball more. So you're looking at your James Cooks there, who, if you've bought him in now, you've just got to hold him now, don't you? Yeah.
And look, and we've seen massive touchdown upside guy in this format. All you need is a touchdown and 60 yards, and you get 24 points. And it's a passable game, right? So he can do that any given week. Something to watch is it's a little thing, and it always plays in my mind. Primetime games seem to be the games where players can just sort of have this weird drop-off from nowhere. So take it as an aberration. If they're playing on a Sunday night or a Monday night game and they've been great all year and they have one stinker, just see it as a stinker. Don't rage trade. Try not to overreact. Just give them another chance. And it happens so often that these studs seem to have a bad game when they're on national TV.
How do you see the running back situation at New England going? We saw that Ramondre Stevenson ran into tutties today, and then they've got Travion Henderson. Gibson's now done with that ACL. Is that going to be running back by committee with the two there? Or do you think they're going to bring someone else in to continue that 3-headed monster, so to speak? Or do we just stay away from New England for Supercoach altogether when we're talking running backs?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a layered question. It's a frustrating question as a Travion Henderson owner, in Supercoach, because I almost have to get rid of him, but I can't because there's so many other things to do this week. But So the game started. Ramondre Stevenson on the second drive of their day fumbles the ball. Now, he had 2 fumbles last week. And every coach in the history of the NFL would bench that guy for life. He's not playing ever again. The 3 fumbles in 3 quarters, you're not playing.
No.
But Mike Vrabel is a wiser man apparently than everyone else. And he's like, nah, get him back out there. And testament to him, he scored twice, and that's great. But we all know that Trevor Henderson would have scored those 2 touchdowns because, to be honest, Horst, you probably would have scored those 2 touchdowns. They were bloody gaping wide. You would have, mate. Trust me.
Yeah, well, would have scored holes, 4, mate. But that's okay. I'm not counting.
No, you would have scored the 2 others he didn't get in. But, so it's frustrating because this guy has the ability. He's just being held back by a coach. To your question, though, yes, it's going to be these 2 sharing every week. But what it does mean is you look ahead at the schedule. If anyone wants to trade out Trayvon Henderson, absolutely go for it. Got my blessing. I can't stand in your way. I don't want to do it. And I've been probably too much of a Trayvon stan this year. But Saints next week, Titans a week after. 2 more weeks. His break-even's still going to be in the single figures. Get a 2-week watch when there's no Gibson now for game planning. It's a 2-man game plan to build around. See what they do. This could be, I'm going to say it every week, this could be the week where he has the 2 touchdowns. So Henderson's a trade out unless you have other trade outs to do, a la tight end, backup quarterback, Hampton if he doesn't play. There's others to trade out as well. But yeah, it's frustrating, but it's worth a watch for the next couple of weeks at least with their matchups. And
I'm with Kizza here. Horse would have scored and then walked over and placed myself on the stretcher. I would have been out of gas and had the oxygen mask on. There's no way that's happening. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do us for our week 5 recap so far. Yes, we're aware that there's a game on tomorrow. Patrick Mahomes and the boys at Kansas City take on, what does Brent call him? Baby Jesus or whatever it is. Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, he does. He call not Baby Jesus. He calls him something. He's big Jags fan, Brent.
Massive Jags fan. Probably the only Jags fan in the world.
Only one in Australia. Canberra boy Brenny is as well. He'd run Canberra in the Jags department. But Trevor, he's a hard watch. If we're talking about hard watches, he can turn some really good things bad. But it should be a good game. They're 3-1. The Jags have a better record than the Chiefs, and they're at home. So anything can happen. We've seen anything can happen. The undefeated Bills and the undefeated Eagles lost this week at home as well. So anything can happen. And hopefully in Supercoach, your Mahomeses, and if you're still rocking with BTJ, they can get in for you.
100% tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen. We'll go through the waivers. Who's potentially sitting on waivers and someone or plays that you can target at home to help you get up in week 6 next week, or even for the rest of the year. Wednesday night, we've got our Supercoach trade show, giving you our opinions on who to trade in, who to trade out, and plays to keep an eye on, especially in and around the bubble and where you can make your max cash. And then Thursday night, Secko and the lads, they're going with the starts of the week. So they're going to come to you with the plays of the week. That's right, the plays that they think that are going to go large and the plays you need to target this week in your NFL Supercoach. Secko, before we leave, where can the guys at home find you, mate?
Yeah, mate, on X and Instagram at Secko_IFS. As Horse said, jump into Patreon, get in the WhatsApp. I'm on there a lot. I love having a chat and a bit of banter with all lads and ladettes in there, and just sort of talking fantasy, talking Supercoach, and talking what you guys need. Always in there if you need to hit me up for some advice, because I'm more than happy to give you my thoughts. And mate, it's been good. It's been 5 weeks, and it's absolutely flown by, and wouldn't be as fun without everyone's participation and involvement in the Insight Unlimited League as well. Yeah,
100%. Like, it's great that we've got all the members within the Unlimited League and the people within the Patreon. But given that this is the first year of NFL Supercoach within Australia, New Zealand, and wherever else you might be playing, because, again, we've got people in the Insight community from America that play even AFL Supercoach. Shout out to Neil. I know you're listening in, mate. And then you've got Scorched Earth and the boys from New Zealand. Like, it really is starting to become a world game now. And, we're stoked to be able to bring it to you most nights of the week this year. So we've got plenty to come here on Insight, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button down below, like, subscribe, bell. That way you know that we're going live. But even if you're listening to us on audio, the 5-star review helps us get out into the ears of those that love a little bit of banter with their Supercoach knowledge, and not just Supercoach, fantasy football knowledge as well when we're talking NFL. But for tonight, this is the Master Secko. I'm the horse doing my best fill-in job, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Catch you then.
Bye.